Obviously have a long way to go. We'll just take it one step at a time, but it's good to get the players in that have been in for a few days here, the rookies and the quarterbacks, some of the other veteran players that are here. And we'll have the full complement of the team, coming in today. And so, really this is a continuation of the spring. It's, and it's kind of like the mini camp days were. We're obviously not in pads here for several days, and the scheduling is pretty much what it was in the spring during that mini camp period. So we'll be really continuing what we did there until we, next week can kind of turn the corner and get into a little different, tempo in practice. The setup on camp operationally is more like it was in 2019. We're still, of course, following all the league protocols and policies on health and safety and so forth. There are, certain requirements on vaccinated versus unvaccinated players and different tiers and so forth, and access to people in the organization and fans and so forth and so on. So whatever those are, they are. We'll follow those. Our staff and organization has done a great job of making those accommodations, and so I'm not really going to get into any of that. Whatever they are, and we'll comply with them and according to the policies as we're directed. From a staff standpoint, Carm will be coaching the offensive line, and again, that really, these are all things that play off the protocols from the league and so forth. So I'm not going to, get into that any further. It is what it is, and really just from this point on, focused on football and trying to get our team ready to go, try to get our staff ready to go, including myself, and we all have a long way to go. One thing that was evident from last week when some of our players reported early is that we'll have a number of players that won't be practicing or starting practice at the beginning of training camp that are in different stages of rehabilitation. They're all working hard, anxious to get back on the field, and we'll follow the proper procedures and protocols as it relates to each one of them individually in their particular situation. So they'll all be on kind of a day-by-day, case-by-case basis, and we have a lot of work to do and evaluations with them, which we've begun, but we're certainly a ways away from being completed there. So we'll just take those players individually day by day and move them along, and when they're ready, then they'll be ready to go. So, again, that's very much of a, just see how they progress, and we'll see what time frame they fall into. So, that's where we are for today. Won't have any on the field activity except for the conditioning run for the players that are have just come to camp, and then we'll be on the field tomorrow morning and really continue the process pretty much from where we ended up and left off in the spring. That's it. Hey, Al.
In your career, you've always, you played a lot of young players, no doubt about that. But I'm just curious in a general sense, when it comes to rookies, do you have a philosophy on dealing with rookies as you start training camp? And if you do have that philosophy, does it vary from position, from wide receiver, defensive tackle, quarterback, linebacker, etc.?
Yeah, I think, Alan, that every year is pretty much a clean slate for me with everybody. Myself, other coaches that have a lot of experience, players that have a lot of experience. So we all have to start all over again, new players, how fast and what kind of impact they'll have. there's really no way of knowing or predicting. You just have to take it day by day and see how it comes along. Some young players, start fast and fizzle out. Some start slow and come on strong. Some start fast and, keep it at that level. Some players, never really, never really have a big impact. So I'm not really big on the expectations. We'll go out there and continue, as I said, the process we started in the spring and see how all the players and our team comes along and how it all fits together. I don't know exactly how that's going to go. And I'm sure we'll see some things along the way that we haven't prepared for that we'll have to adjust to. That's part of football and part of coaching and part of the NFL season. So I think we'll just have to see how it goes.
Thanks, Bill.
You're welcome.
Next question, Mike. Can you spell that in full?
Hey, Joe. Good to see you. Another camp. Hope you're doing well.
Yeah, you too, Mike.
Yeah, definitely. So just a couple topics that we haven't had a chance to talk to you about that came up from the last time we talked in June. I know we had asked you a lot about Stephon, Gilmore, and he's since that time has said publicly he wants to be paid what he's worth and hopes something can be worked out with the team. Where does that situation stand, I guess, from the organization's perspective?
Yeah, we're not going to talk publicly about contracts.
And then Nikhil's agent, Bill, had publicly sort of come out and requested a trade. I guess, what is the organization's response to Nikhil's agent's request? And are you okay with him? Is he on board with what's going on here, I guess?
Yeah, I'm not going to talk about contracts and personal situations.
And my last one was just no pads until next week. I think watching training camp with the Patriots over the last 20 years, the rhythm, we would always seem to see it like the third or fourth day. You'd work on the running game because it was something you couldn't do in the spring. So how do you adjust now with that, the pads not coming on, I believe you said for several days and turning the corner into next week? It seems like that's delayed, I guess, from what we've seen in the past.
Yeah, well, we'll follow the rules and be compliant with them and try to make the most out of whatever opportunities we have to prepare our team.
Next question, Ben Rowland, followed by Phil Perry.
I think you're muted, Ben.
Sorry, 5-yard penalty on me. Happy summer, hope you're doing well. A couple quick questions about.
We'll decline the penalty. It's all right.
Thank you, appreciate that. Do you happen to know what percentage of your players have gotten the vaccine at this point?
I don't know. Well, quite a few of them. Most of them probably, but whatever the protocols are, we'll follow them. So those are individual decisions. There are categories for everybody. So wherever they fit, they fit.
I've seen some teams are having vaccinated players wear one color wristband and unvaccinated wear another color wristband. Are you guys doing something similar?
Yes, it's required by the league. Well, it's required to differentiate them. So.
Sure. So when you factor that, and then like we've seen some Buffalo Bills players already, some teammates kind of going back and forth on Twitter about it, you have to be wary of this issue on the team.
Yeah, again, there's a lot of those things that you're mentioning, Ben, are out of our control. So we'll deal with the things we can control and go from there.
Phil Perry, followed by Ian Steele, Phil.
Good, Phil. How's it going?
Pretty good. I just had one follow-up to Ben's protocol-related questions. The league obviously announced that there would be some new sort of team-related penalties this year, as far as potentially having to forfeit games and some financial penalties if games can't be played. Have those rules impacted your team? Do you know to the point where maybe the rules have led to new vaccinations for your players?
Yeah, I don't know.
And just one follow-up on Gilmore. I know you mentioned you're not putting anybody on a timeline in terms of the guys that are going through some different stages of rehab, but what have you seen from Stephon? I don't know how much you've seen him in the last few days since he's been in, but in terms of just working to get back, what have you seen from him?
Yeah, that's what he's been doing, and we'll evaluate the progress. Great, good. How's it going?
Good. Football question for you.
Great.
Will there be an open competition for starting quarterback during this season?
Yeah, as I said, every one of us has to go out and establish our level of performance in whatever our role or capacity is. So it's a new season. We've done some things in the spring, but this is really the start of football season in terms of the team building part here in training camp. So we all have a lot of work to do. That includes all of us. So until we go out and do anything, then it's pretty much of a clean slate.
So clean slate, including the quarterback situation as well?
Including the coaches and all the players.
Thank you.
Next question, Andrew Callahan. We'll try to get in two more. Andrew Callahan, Bob says.
Hey, good morning, Bill.
Andrew?
So you described the next few days as an extension of mini camp, which we heard so many times as a true teaching period. Do you plan to make a lot of evaluation here, or at least some, based on what the players will do before you get into pads next week, or is this still the teaching period?
It's still pretty much of a teaching period. I mean, we'll evaluate how they're able to do the things we ask them to do, but no pads on or anything. It's hard to evaluate. It's a big part of football, is the actual football part of it, which it'll be a while before we get to that.
Last question, Bob says.
Hey, Stacy, good morning, Bill.
Hey, Bob.
Bill, big picture with the preseason condensed now from 4 games to 3, also having joint practices scheduled before that third and final preseason game, and then a few extra days after that compared to past season. Does that factor in how you look at the timetable, the schedule, the training camp when it comes to reps and just different phases of evaluation?
Yeah, I think you articulated it well, Bob. That's really what it is. The start of training camp is really somewhat delayed based on the schedule. It's as I said, a continuation of the spring, and then it changes and ramps up, if you will, and with the preseason games and the opportunity to have joint practices. That'll be a kind of a different type of training camp in terms of what's going on and what's happening and the opportunity to evaluate. And then that will extend to some degree into the period after that, prior to the start of the opening of the season. So from a time frame standpoint, it's a little bit different than what it was in some previous years, but that's what it is. Great. Okay. Yep. Thanks, Bob. All right. Thanks, everyone. Look forward to seeing you out there on Wednesday.